All right, at this time, we're going to call this meeting to order, and I will remind you all to please silence any cell phones or electronic devices that you may have that can make noise to disturb the meeting. And I will ask Valerie, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Mayor Villa?
Here. And now I'll ask you all to please stand for the invocation led by City Commissioner John Penny, and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you pray with me? Dear gracious God, we thank you for the many gifts you've given us all. We ask that you place your hand of blessing on all those that are dealing with COVID-19. We ask you to guide and direct our meeting so that it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We ask that you protect our men and women in the armed forces as they protect our freedoms that so many take for granted. We ask that you keep our city teammates safe as they do their jobs. God, please bless this meeting, this city, and our great country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. And now we will recess the City Commission meeting and convene as the CRA. We'll move to item 3 on our agenda, the CRA agenda. And this is number 1, authorization for revisions to the CRA grant program. And we will take a moment here. This is what we went over in our workshop at our last meeting. The last workshop.
Yeah.
All right,
I was
Mr. Forte.
just talking with Scott and with Kevin. They found a couple of items in the document that are not accurate, so I want to get them cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that we pull this from the CRA and from our regular agenda, and we'll push it off to the next meeting and get those things cleaned up so that we don't have to make corrections through motions.
Okay, thank you for the catch, Mr. Simpson.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
should I have one comment that it just hit me as I reread this evening about the grants? As I understand it, we're going to cap the maximum reimbursement at the $10,000 per calendar year.
That's what it's been.
That's what it's been. I just was thinking, what if someone came to us with a mega project that wanted to qualify for 4 or 5 of the categories, and someone was...
Mega projects fit under a different category. If you remember when we...
I was thinking of Florida Healthcare, because I knew we did something with them.
That was unique in their landscaping. They got the last landscaping agreement, but if you think of a project similar to like Fountainhead, we changed the CRA plan to allow for a corporate headquarters or a big project to come in where it doesn't fall under this facade
I just
grant.
didn't want
It falls under a development.
I'm thinking of some of our vacant property we have for sale. If someone came and wanted to do that whole project and invest $10 million,
Right, it would
10
be
grand
beyond
isn't going to
this.
make isn't going to incentivize
Yeah,
them.
we have a whole nother category that would allow for that.
Thank you.
Yep. It's a good comment, though. Luckily, we have a lot of tools in our toolbox. All right, so with Mr. Simpson, do you want me to set a date certain for this for the next meeting, or can we just...
I think we'll end up advertising the CRA meeting for the next meeting again, and this isn't a public hearing and from the standpoint of a zoning ordinance or something like that. So once we advertise that we're having a CRA meeting, there's no reason to do a
Okay.
date certain.
All right, perfect. So with no objection, we will be removing this to discuss at our next meeting, as well as removing it from our regular agenda tonight. Is there any objection? Seeing none, let it be so. Now we're moving to adjourn as the CRA, and we're reconvening as the City Commission tonight, and we will move to our first, number 5, public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak on anything that's not on our regular agenda tonight. Yes, sir. You know the drill, Gillis. Name and address for the record.
Former Commissioner Blaze, 710 Magnolia. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know if all the former mobile home parks in Holly Hill had their utilities removed electricity, and sewer because this new movement on these mini houses built on these trailers, small, narrow trailers, about 7 feet wide, possibly 12 feet long or some sort. Just want to know if the city of Holly Hill has an ordinance in regards to those type of new mini homes. Maybe something to look into, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Blaze. Yes, ma'am, in the back. We'll answer your question after, Gillis. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Just state your name and your address for the record, and then you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Suzanne Schreiber, 548 Sandy Oaks Boulevard, and I live in Ormond Beach. I'm the founder of Dream Green Volusia, and we are an environmental nonprofit that works across Volusia County on environmental issues. We recently sent an email to you yesterday asking for a letter of support for the purchase of 36 acres on the Ormond Scenic Loop to be placed in conservation by Volusia County. The Ormond Scenic Loop and Trail, fondly known as the Loop, plays a vital role in our county tourism. One of our largest events of the year is Bike Week, March 5th through the 15th. Motorcycle enthusiasts from across the county come to celebrate Bike Week and ride the Loop. Visitors to Volusia County travel by car, motorcycle, and bicycle to see native plants and animals, hike old Florida trails, and see historic sites. The Loop has been designated a National Scenic Byway and a Florida Scenic Highway due to its intrinsic historic natural, recreational, and scenic qualities. The most pressing issue facing the Loop now is the development of the 76 lots at Plantation Oaks subdivision along Old Dixie Highway, which have been offered for sale to the county. Our organization approached the developer asking for his cooperation in selling the land for conservation. This event has been going on for 9 months now. The idea is for this to be the beginning of a possible larger project on the west side of the road. The resources of the byway must be protected, and it is up to all of us to make that happen. The initial price is all on public record, as is the entire arrangement. It's $1.38 million. Due diligence is being performed with 2 appraisals, negotiations, and all that would be necessary to move forward by the county. The council has a short window to save this land, and you can show support by submitting a letter to the county council. Public support always matters. This is a rare opportunity. There is not land conservation on the west side, and there are 4 developments lined up as you drive north. Grants and Volusia Echo funds are available. We have submitted 5 grants to the county ourselves. Once it is gone forever. If you are not willing to submit a letter of support as a commission, please consider supporting as individuals. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I thank you for your time. And I just want to be clear, I'm not asking the city to buy this or contribute. I'm asking for a letter of support to the county.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission tonight about something that's not on our agenda? Okay. Former Mayor Roland Villa, AKA Dad.
Yes, I'm no longer the former mayor. I am the mayor's dad. Part of it. And John Penny said I could talk as long as I kept my mask on, for appearance's sake.
See, he used to be the mayor's son, so now the roles have changed.
It all comes back. Be careful with that. I'm here to talk about the ballpark. Now, what do you guys think I'm going to say? You know what?
I honestly have no clue.
You're going to be wrong, okay, if you think that I'm up here to try to save the ballpark. You hit upon something that's going to be important, and that's the sentimental response. Once upon a time, this city was planning to take Hollyland Park and make it into a commercial and living condo complex and take and move all the ball fields to a different location and build a quadplex and make it more amenable to the baseball people. But of course, that now is 15 years ago, and we're well past that. I will tell you right now, that with the sentimental response, maybe one thing you should consider when you bring it back up, replace the ball field somewhere. We can always use a ball field for all kinds of different sports. Think about a place where maybe we could put another ballpark. And who puts it there? People that take it away. Think about it, okay? We might be able to find one there. Bottom line is, and what you always have to ask yourselves, is what's best for the citizens. And even though you talk about all the people that come from other areas, we economically will benefit from an expanded complex. And I really like that concert space part. But the bottom line is highest and best use. And it looks like that complex, with the private money coming in, is probably going to be the best, highest, and best use. So that's something that should be considered. Surprised you?
Would have lost money.
Yes, me too. Good thing I'm not a betting person.
Yeah. After coaching there for what, over 20 years? Yeah. So, all right.
Actually, 40 seasons, because we did.
Yeah, 40 seasons. All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on anything not on our agenda tonight? Going once, going twice. Sold. We are now closing public comments, and we'll move to item 6, which is the approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from January 26, 2021 regular city commission meeting?
So, second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Is there any discussion needed? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our consent agenda, items 1 through 3. Before I begin, is there any commissioner that would like to remove an item for discussion? The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on any item on our consent agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda 1 through 3.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Curry and a second from Vice Mayor Penny. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. We are skipping number 8 on the regular agenda because we're bringing that up to the next meeting about the CRA grant program. So we will move down to the public hearings, number 9. And our first item on there is the Mirage Phases 3 and 4. Mr. Forte?
Nothing to read.
Okay, Brian Walker is not available this evening. He is self-quarantining due to an exposure to COVID. We don't suspect that he has it, but in an abundance of caution, he's not here this evening. So I'm hoping on these next 2 items, between Scott and I, we should be able to answer questions that come up. If not, we may have to postpone it, although I did confirm with Brian that if I have a question, I can call him and maybe we can get an answer. Hope we don't have to do that. So for this project, Chris Butera of Mirage HH Partners, LLC, property owner, requests preliminary plat and final engineering approval for phases 3 and 4 of the Mirage subdivision. Phases 3 and 4 add an additional 49 lots and increase the total number of developable lots within the subdivision from 53 to 102. The subdivision is located approximately 1,200 feet east of Nova Road on the north side of Floma Street. The Mirage subdivision is a 30.09 acre parcel located on the south side of Alabama Avenue and the north side of Flomish Avenue. A subdivision plat creating 161 lots was initially approved by the city in January of 2007. Through the years, there have been some modifications to the subdivision and a replat reducing the number of developable lots to 53 and expanding the retention pond area in order to mine shell was approved in April of 2017. The preliminary plat now proposed seeks to create an additional 49 lots. The site is in an R6 low-density multifamily residential zoning district, which allows 12 dwelling units per acre for townhomes. However, the future land use of phases 3 and 4 is low-density residential, which allows a maximum of 6 dwelling units per net acre. Based on the future land use policy 1.1.3 of the city's comprehensive plan as amended January 12, 2016 by ordinance 2964, the R6 zoning category may be consistent with the land development regulation future land use when the proposed density within the R6 does not exceed the maximum density permitted within the land development regulation future land use. Phases 3 and 4 propose a maximum density of 5.76 dwelling units per acre and therefore are consistent with land development regulations future land use. The project proposed townhomes, the minimum lot size is 1,080 square feet. Proposed townhomes will be a minimum of 900 square feet and a maximum of 35 feet in height. The City of Holly Hill is the provider of potable water and sanitary sewer. Final engineering plans for the subdivision have been provided by a licensed engineer and reviewed by the city. The city has approved the final engineering plans. A final plat for the proposed subdivision has not been submitted at this time. When submitted, the plat will be reviewed for consistency with the approved final engineering plans, Florida Statute Chapter 177, and all other relevant state and local regulations prior to being presented to the City Commission. The applicant has been notified that lots cannot be sold for development until such time that the subdivision improvements have been completed, inspected, and approved, unless bonded, and the subdivision has received final plat approval. At the regular meeting of the Board of Planning Appeals on February 1st, 2021, the Board of Planning Appeals voted unanimously to recommend approval of phases 3 and 4 of the Mirage subdivision. Staff recommends that the City Commission approve the preliminary plat for phases 3 and 4 of the Mirage subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Procedural. We didn't address Mr. Blazes or Ms. Scheiber's. I didn't know if you wanted to address it before we get into this because she might want to leave. I had written it down because I got her email to bring it up at the end of the meeting, but I didn't know if you want to address those concerns now or.
Usually we'll address those at the end of the meeting. Were you planning on staying or? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take.
I didn't want to.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, thank you. Do you have any questions for staff on this? Are there any questions? All right.
We'll tell you the applicant, Chris Butera, is here if you have any questions specifically about the project as well.
Okay. I'll put it up to the applicant if you'd like to speak first or open up public comment because then you could potentially respond if there's questions. Okay. What I'll do at this point is open this up to public comment. This is the audience's opportunity to speak to the commission about this specific project dealing with the Mirage. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Yep, come on up. And just state your name and address for the record, even though I know where you live.
Sandra Worley, 919 Royal Oak Court. I have a few questions. First of all, there's 2 big oak trees out there. Are they going to take those down? Probably about the only 2 they left standing out of the huge ones, the smaller ones that they took down. Do you know?
I'm not sure right now, but
I don't know specifically.
They took some big ones down. They left 2 that kind of medium size. I was hoping they'd leave them up.
I don't know the answer to that.
The other thing is, beside the trees, on the property, when you're, how many roads are they going to have going in and out? There's only that I know of one road going in and out of there. Is that correct?
There would be another one.
Huh?
There would be another one.
Where?
Off of Flomish. Off of Flomish and off of Primo Court.
Oh, well, Primo Court is just servicing that one row. So is there going to be a road you're saying going from?
There's a road that comes off of it, yes.
There'll be going.
I believe, right, Mr. Forte?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
So
But you can continue with your comments, and we'll get the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have, Primo Court is one entry into the property, and then Primo Court will connect into phases 3 and 4, and then there'll also be another entrance in off of Flomish. In addition to that, if they move forward with the portion that comes off of Alabama, there'll be another entrance off of Alabama to a cul-de-sac that's on the northwest side of that pond.
They might have, you say, a road on the northwest side of it?
It's a cul-de-sac. It's a short road that comes into two sets of townhomes on the northwest side.
From Alabama.
I can show that to you if you'd like.
Yes. The other thing is, I've been over there I've lived there over for 40 years. On the property where they're planning on, I believe, running the homes, it's running along Flomish Avenue, correct?
There are some that are parallel to Flomish Avenue,
Right.
but there are other properties between Flomish and that road.
Well, off of Flomish there, over the years, when it rains really, really bad, that water's running over across Flomish and back again. I mean, it's bad.
Right.
On my property, it would be on the edge of my property that faces the project, there's it's low there, the water runs there. My question to you is, that water, is the drainage going to be going into the lake there, or is it going to be going into city, or where?
One of the things that the engineer spoke of during the previous work session was one of the projects around this is for the city to do a stormwater project that would bring some of the surrounding stormwater into this pond. That may or may not be corrected with this development, depending upon what's affected. But there is a master plan that has future stormwater resolution for that area. But I don't know if this is going to address specifically what you're asking.
See, because what I'm saying, over on the property next to me, it's been already elevated some. They haven't come quite up to the edge, but when they do, it's just going to run off on mine. And
So far, since this pond has been built, the three cul-de-sacs, of which Royal Oak is one, which used to flood, no longer floods.
Right.
All that water is going into the pond, so it's been a great success for alleviating stormwater in that area.
Okay, if I could get with you where the drains are going to be, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay.
You know where I work.
The last question I have is, at one time, what happened to the turtle gopher relocation program on that property?
I'm not sure, but Sandra, if we could, this isn't a question and answer type setting. You can get with Mr. Forte to get all these answers or call me up. You have my number. So this is public comment, so if you could direct your comments directly
That's all I
at what's
have.
happening. Okay.
So do you get with one of you two then on this?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And he'll be better to get with facts right off that he
right.
can pull up, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this project tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I will allow the applicant to come up if you so wish. Thank you, Mr. Butera. Just name and who you are for the record.
Chris Butera with Mirage HH Partners at 1275 West Granada, Ormond Beach, Florida. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for having us tonight. We're excited about moving forward on the last phases of this project. The lake is now being completed and deeded over to the city as well. So just excited to be here. Didn't want to take up any more of your time than that. If you have any questions or need me, just let me know.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Butera? All right. Thank you. All right. With that, we will go ahead and I will entertain a motion to approve the plat as stated in our agenda packet.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Curry. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving now to item number 2, the variance request of 508 Riverside Drive. Mr. Forte? Are there any legal requirements for Mr. Simpson to read on this? The 508 variance request?
Okay, so this is a variance request for 508 Riverside Drive. It's a request for a rear and side yard setback variance from the requirements of Section 114-765 of the Land Development Regulations titled Schedule of Dimensional Requirements. A variance from the required rear setback from 30 feet to 12 feet and a side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 2 feet for a parcel in R1 Single Family Zoning District located on the west side of Riverside Drive, approximately 100 feet north of Fifth Street, and more particularly known as 508 Riverside Drive. The lot contains a home originally built in 1950. The side yards for the R1 zone lots are required to be a minimum of 10 feet. Rear yards for R1 zone lots are required to be a minimum of 30 feet. Lots in the R1 zoning district are required to be a minimum of 90 feet wide. The applicant proposes to build a 600 square foot, 20 by 30 addition to the home on the rear southwest portion of the house. The lot at 508 Riverside Drive is part of the Randall and Thompson subdivision plat. The plat on record is dated in the late 1880s and does not show lots as they exist today, but instead shows larger tracts of land. Staff, along with the clerk of the court's office, has searched for but been unable to locate a more recent plat establishing the lots in the current form. Most of the lots, including 508 Riverside Drive, do not meet the minimum width and/or overall size requirements of the R1 zoning district of the area. Because the homes on the lots in this area were built in a time period from the 19-teens through the 1950s, well before the existence of the city's land development regulations, staff is making an educated guess that the lots were also created prior to the existence of our land development regulations. Therefore, the lots and homes that do not meet current code are considered legal nonconforming. The lot at 508 Riverside Drive does not meet the 90-foot minimum width as required within the R1 zoning district. In addition, the home was built on the lot in 1950 and does not meet the north side setback requirements. These are considered legal nonconformities. The required front yard setback is 30 feet. However, the home was built approximately 70 feet from the front yard property line. Due to the home's placement on the lot, the applicant is unable to build a reasonably sized addition at the rear of the home without encroaching into the rear yard setback. For the requested variance, the request is for a variance from Section 114-765 of the Land Development Regulations of Holly Hill. Number 1, variance for the required rear yard setback of 30 feet to 12 feet in order to build a 600 square foot addition to the rear yard, and 2, a side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 2 feet for the existing home only in order to legitimize the current nonconformity. In order to grant the variance request, the Commission must find that the request meets the requirement of Section 82-317. Within your agenda packet is 82-317, and staff has reviewed each of the 6 criteria and have determined that the applicant has met each of the 6 criteria. Staff finds that the applicant has met all of the criteria as stated above to grant the requested variance. Some additional information, Section 82-320, the expiration, a variance shall begin to serve the purpose for which it was granted within 18 months following the granting action of the City Commission and shall otherwise become void. However, a shorter period of time may be stipulated by the City Commission in an individual case as conditions imposed pursuant to Sections 82-316. At its regular meeting on February 1st, 2021, the Board of Planning and Appeals voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request for a rear yard setback from 30 feet to 12 feet and a side yard setback variance from 10 feet to 2 feet for a parcel in the R1 single-family zoning district located on the west side of Riverside Drive, approximately 100 feet north of 5th Street, and more particularly known as 508 Riverside Drive. Staff recommends approval of the request for a rear yard setback variance from a requirement of Section 114-765 of the Land Development Regulations titled Schedule of Dimensional Requirements, a variance from the required rear yard setback from 30 feet to 12 feet, and a side yard setback from 10 feet to 2 feet for a parcel in the R1 single-family zoning district located on the west side of Riverside Drive, approximately 100 feet north of 5th Street, and more particularly known as 508 Riverside Drive.
I closed my eyes. I would have thought Brian was here.
I know, right?
What do you say?
Just in case. Thank you, Mr. Forte. Are there any questions for staff? All right. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? All right. With that, I'll close public comment. Is the applicant here, Joe? Okay. Would you like to say anything, add anything, or? What's that? If anyone has any questions? Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant tonight? All right, we're good. Thank you. With that, I will go ahead and entertain a motion for approval as stated by Mr. Forte.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Curry. We have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Vice Mayor, did you?
I just, in the spirit of transparency, I have had no ex parte communication in this matter. However, it was brought to my attention today that my office has this house insured. So the applicant is one of my clients. I haven't spoken to the applicant about this situation, but
Okay.
just in the spirit of transparency.
Yep.
Has he ever eaten pizza?
I was going to say, he's probably eating some. Spirit of transparency, I'm probably sitting in this place, right?
All right. And so he doesn't have to do anything because he's not making any money from it. Okay.
Neither am I.
You don't make any money on pizza. Okay, with that, is there any discussion on this item? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now moving to communications from our city manager, Mr. Forte.
Okay, a couple of things. I sent an email out to let you know that we'll be refurbishing the chambers. We're doing it in the period between meetings where there's 3 weeks, where the carpet will be replaced and the seats will be reupholstered. The colors are not quite going to be the same, but they'll be close enough. They're going to be almost opposite. The rugs are going to be darker and the chairs are going to be lighter in color. So hopefully by the second meeting in March, we'll have a different look in here. I was approached by somebody that wants to conduct the Highland Games at the property over on Center Avenue behind Fountainhead. We had used that property, we were going to use that property one time for the Daytona Cowboys football game, and it was rained out, so they didn't have it. So I've been approached for some local folks to run the Highland Games. I'm familiar with the Scottish Highland Games. I'm not sure if these are quite the same, but it must be some version of that, where they do things like throw hammers and, not hammers, but the athletic hammers and logs and different kind of things of athletic strength. So they're requesting that they be able to use that area off of Center Avenue again. I charged a rate of $250 to the Daytona Cowboys, and I think we should do the same for this group. They'll be primarily self-contained. They'll have about 50 to 75 participants. They've submitted a site plan that includes an area where they'll designate parking, an area for where the events will take place. They're going to have a food truck on site, portalets, and area for trash. The request was reviewed by staff. Staff didn't come out with any additional comments, so we're recommending that we go ahead and authorize this event to take place. And I actually forgot to write the date down, in March. It's on a Saturday, so I'm looking for the commission's
I
support.
believe it's the 13th.
The 13th? Is that a Saturday?
I believe so.
Could be.
I can confirm that. Yeah, I'll confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been in contact. Did you have any more, Mr.
No,
Forte?
no, that was it.
I've been in contact with the organizer, and so they just did a Highland event they usually do them at the Masons Club in Ormond. And during Christmas, they did an event to raise money for kids in need for Christmas. And so they bought a lot of gifts, and you had to bring a gift. They got a big check. They presented it to the Family Renew here in Holly Hill. Really good. Actually, the person who's putting this together is Damon Sansom, who is a Holly Hill resident, wants to bring this here. We actually just put him on our fire pension board recently. He's been wanting to bring it to Holly Hill for a while, the Holly Hill Highland Games. And so this is kind of more of a test. They don't have as many people as normal because of COVID competing, but they have a lot of measures to keep people, safe and distance and things like that. And so he wants to just kind of put there's people that come from all around. It's one of these things to kind of introduce Holly Hill to them And we talked about a few different sites, but this seemed to be the best one, especially for us to be able to see if the grounds will be hurt at all by throwing big, things. So we didn't want to necessarily do it in a park and not know if it's going to leave divots or whatnot. So I'm all for this. And what I would ask tonight, if we do move forward, is that we waive this $250 fee. City, we're not going to make any money on this. They're not charging people to get in. They're going to have a couple vendors there, but it's not like they're making any money or anything. They're trying to put Holly Hill on the map, see if it can work during this COVID situation of less people, and maybe we could find a place for it to work out in the future somewhere. So that's what I would request if everyone was okay with it. Yes, sir.
I'll meet you halfway. They give us a $250 deposit, and I was a Boy Scout almost 50 years ago. And the motto was, you leave the place cleaner than you found it.
Yes, yeah.
I hope they would be adults and leave it in the same condition, but I would hope if there was a baggie over there, they would pick it up too.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of letting them use the property, but I would like a security deposit, and it's,
That's a
at
good
the
idea.
city manager's discretion or at our public works discretion. If they got to go over there and pick up trash, it just costs you $250.
That's a great idea, yeah. And I think they would be really good with that because I was told that they really, the organization that actually holds it, they pride themselves on that, making sure, they actually said that, leave the place better than they found it. So I would be all for that.
And I could support that.
Okay, great,
Sounds reasonable.
great.
Do you need a motion or anything?
And it's the 13th, March 13th.
To that effect?
Do we need a motion or just consensus to,
I would do it by motion.
by motion? All right,
Make a motion that the city manager enter into agreement with the Highlands Games for March 13th,
2021.
2021, and hold a $250 deposit as a security for the property.
And I'll second that.
Great, we have a motion and a second. We'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the Highland Games coming? All right.
Just one question, do we have to
Come up to the mic. You know the rules.
notify?
No, we don't have
Say
to
yes or no.
notify Synergy.
Roland Villa, 534 Eagle Drive, Holly Hill, Florida, 32117. You want my phone number? You got it. I know.
They just can't park in their parking lot.
Yeah,
Do what?
They can't use their parking lot.
That was the question, so,
but he's going to reach out to Jason and let him know,
Okay.
the applicant. Yep,
that's the question, thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Mr. Forte.
And then I wanted to, I mentioned at the work session, the property at 8th Street and Ridgewood Avenue. Again, I'll repeat that I had a conversation with the property owner. We did send him the letter as required by law. He responded back with an offer to exchange his property, which is appraised at $135,000, for the property that the city owns near 6th Street, which was appraised at about $450,000 a number of years ago. I told him that wouldn't work specifically because we have somebody interested in purchasing the city's property. He then asked that we buy the entire parcel for $200,000. Again, it was appraised at $135,000. So then we spoke about what the city needed, and the city really only needs the easement area, the underground easement, and the location of the 2 or 3 above-ground utility boxes. We had that appraised, and that appraisal came back at $9,700. He was asking for $40,000 for that. I explained to him that we haven't purchased any easements from anybody else. I even went into the file room and showed him all the easements that we had that didn't require a purchase. So he's still a holdout on that. I tried to get the price down around $20,000 to $25,000, and he really wouldn't come down much below $38,000. And I told him I just didn't think it was going to work. So we finally settled in an area of $32,500. That was a verbal. It wasn't even a commitment. It was just a number that we talked about pending this conversation with the city commission. I did talk to Scott about it, and there's risk. There's risk here that if we would be paying nearly 4 times the appraised value of that area that we're looking to put these utilities in. However, We don't know what would happen if we went down the eminent domain route, where we'd have to end up going to court, attorney's fees, potentially on both sides, that the city would have to pay for, plus not knowing what the outcome of the jury or the judge would be. They may determine that the value of that land is higher than the 9,700 and award an even greater amount. So there's risk on both sides, and I don't think that 32.5 is going to negatively affect the budget for that, and it will get us to get that project moving forward to completion, because that project is a significant holdup to what's happening. So if you are in agreement with that, what we'll do is we'll work on an agreement that Scott will put together, and we'll bring it back to you at the next commission meeting for formal approval. So tonight I'm just seeking your direction as to how you want me to proceed.
Okay. I'll start off. Mr. Simpson, could you comment on if we were to take this to court? I know you don't know what they would award, because you have a jury that would award that, correct? And
Correct.
I mean, in our case, we look like it's easier to award more to a person that seems to be maybe taken from, and then a corporation that doesn't have a face like a city. So for everyday jurors could say, well, the city can do this and pay out more. Is that correct? in
Well, you
stating
would
that?
hope the jury would base their decision on a different appraisal. Like, that we have our appraisal. Could they come back with an appraisal, as Joe said, that would be more? Yes. You would hope that a jury wouldn't go beyond the highest appraisal. But if they did, that could be subject to appeal on a challenge. But by the time you do that, then you've spent way more than what we're talking about here.
Right.
So yeah, there is a risk. You're going to spend some money. I mean, for sure, you're going to spend $9,700. So really, you're talking about the difference between $9,700 and $32,500. That's really the difference. Yes, you're going to spend attorney's fees just getting there. And then you have the unknown of what their attorney's fees would be. Now, the state law has a formula for determining that. But there is a process for them to be awarded attorney's fees if under the circumstances the law warrants it. And that's basically the attorney getting more money than what was offered, bringing value to it. But, if they came back with a valuation of $15,000, then all of a sudden, maybe you have $5,000 and now you're at $20,000 already, and then you still have, so you're only talking $12,000 difference, and what is that, the risk of how much of that will be eaten up with their attorney's fees? That could be another $2,000 or $3,000, $4,000 there. So, and then the cost of their appraisal, our cost was $1,500, I think. So their cost goes on there. So it will add up pretty quickly. Can I guarantee you that you will spend more than $32,500? No, I can't guarantee you, but there's just the unknown of what are they going to do. Yeah. But the process we are going to go through, there's two processes for eminent domain. One process you can go through and go through it, get a value, and then if the value came back where it was way more than you thought and you didn't want to buy it, you could just say, we're not buying it. We don't have that option, as I understand. We have to have it. So regardless of what that property comes back at as value, we are going to have to pay it because we have to have that value. There's not an alternative to it. So that puts us in the process of what's called a quick take. We'll go in, we take the $9,700, we pay that into the court registry, we file suit, we get title, and then they come forward and then they can challenge the valuation. So, but by the time you get done, realistic outcome probably is not going to be much different than this dollar value.
And then all the time wasted and the holding up of the undergrounding project, correct? Because it would be in limbo?
I believe that it would affect the progress of it.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is it's a gamble, and we could end up losing more taxpayers' money, really, if we...
You could, and you do have... It's my understanding the improvements are already there. That's correct? The improvements are already there.
Not the above ground, the conduit is there.
No, so you obviously have the appearance of, which is just, you can still do the eminent domain, but you have the appearance of doing the work without the permission.
Yeah.
That
Makes it look bad.
Especially to everyday jurors, too.
Yeah, so that doesn't very much. So I support the settlement.
Yeah, okay.
If that's what you're looking for.
That is what I'm looking for, because what I'm hearing is even if we were to win, you hit a home run, then the money is so small anyways that then you take on the risk of us having to pay 40 or 50,000 or whatever, or having to go on an appeal, and then it's much bigger.
You know,
So
best case scenario, you're going to pay $9,700 for that property. Best case scenario.
but that's not
Plus,
possible.
the
with
attorneys-
yeah,
Well, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's possible, but then you add your attorney's fees
Right.
to that, potentially some of their attorney's fees and costs.
right.
And so you're not comparing 0 and 32.5. That's not a comparison.
It's not probable.
Right,
Now,
right.
that's not at all going to happen. I think you're really comparing 32.5 and say
20.
17.5.
Okay.
That may be best case scenario. You might get out for this thing for 17.5, maybe.
And then the
Maybe.
project is held up months and months.
Project is going to be held up. So
And the
you're really
risk
just
of it
talking
going
about
above
the
30.
It's dragged through the mud.
Yeah,
We're on the front page.
Yeah.
yeah.
And no one likes the perception of eminent domain. Well, not very many people. Let me put it that way. I shouldn't say no one, but not very many people. So.
Are there any questions for staff? No.
I recommend cut your losses.
I recommend.
Be too agreeable to him because he hasn't totally agreed yet, right?
Well, that's the number that he wants. So what I would look from the commission is to allow me to negotiate a price up to 32.5. That if I can get it down a little
Not
bit
to
more.
exceed.
Clear to him, you're not gonna go over 32.5 no matter
Yeah.
Oh,
what. He's gonna get greedy.
no, he already
Start low.
knows that. He already knows that.
I think Joe did that.
You know, he started out.
We started at 97. Here's our appraisal. Here's the value, and it's kind of.
So if you just make it not to exceed 32.5, if I can tweak it down a little bit, I'll try to
Mayor, do
do
you
that.
need a motion?
1 minute, not yet.
No, next meeting.
Is the,
Oh, okay.
is this CRA money?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right. So we're not taking action on this tonight, right?
Well, you're giving me direction
Okay.
to negotiate up to 32.5, and then you'll take action when the agreement is brought forward to you at the next
Do you need
meeting.
consensus or a motion for that? Rather a motion?
Well, they still got to prove it. So consensus is fine.
Yeah, consensus is fine
We
because,
still got to bring it back
Okay.
to you for formal approval.
yeah,
All right. Then,
okay.
Any
Mayor,
objections?
I support
okay.
us doing that.
So seeing no objections, you are good to negotiate that up to 32.5.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Forte. Mr. Simpson?
Nothing further.
No? Mrs. Manning? Gutakis? Nothing? Maybe, Mr. Gutakis, because I did want to bring up the, and I saw your email today about the hacking of Oldsmar, yeah, the city in Florida, to hack the water department, and that's very, very scary. And thank God that person in the Public Works Department caught that. And you know, we talk a lot about our first responders up here, but we have a lot of hard workers that get called in after hours. They're with their family, and they come in, they fix a busted pipe, they do a lot of things, and a lot of citizens don't realize that the real public servants, they're working really hard for us in public works. So I didn't know if you wanted to comment on it, because it is a scary thing, and obviously everything's susceptible to being hacked nowadays, but
The one thing I'll tell you that, because the first thing this morning, I did go in and notify Scott Antoine and our chief water operator, and he responded back right away, which I don't know if I provided to you, is our SCADA system does not regulate the chemicals that goes into the plant. That
Good.
gets done manually.
Okay.
So we have that level of protection that somebody's not going to go in and ask the computer to increase a chemical.
Okay.
So we do all that manually. And then there are some other protections that are in there. In fact, I think tomorrow, Dataflow, the company that we work with, is going to be here working with us. And while they're here, we're going to talk to them about other precautions that we may already have in place or don't know about. And I've even asked Andy, our chief water operator, to make sure he puts together, if he doesn't already have, a security plan, a policy that's in place that we can follow.
great. Yeah, and I don't want to get into all the specifics, obviously, in a public meeting, because you don't want to give away your cards, but as long as we know that we're safe and things are being done, that's good to know. Thank you. You're comfortable with what we have. Thank you, Mr. Katakis. With that, too, I want to welcome October Broadway, the best name of
Oh, absolutely.
an 11-year-old that I've ever heard. Are you 11 or 12? 12. All right. Would you like to come up and say a few words at your first public meeting? So October Broadway is with the Scouts, and she has to be here tonight to find an issue. I want to know, what issue did you find tonight? Did you find something to talk about or write about?
Yes. The subdivision with the oak trees.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good.
Great. Yeah, and we approved that plot tonight. So, well, if you have any questions for us, you can contact any of us. Our cell phone numbers are on the website, and we hope to see you serving in government someday, and you could be leading this city. So, thank you, October.
You're welcome.
Is there anything you want to add? Getting a cue from Dad.
Dad's hungry.
I love it.
She does have an impressive resume. She would like to tell you about her resume.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm in a scuba. I do Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, NAACP,
ACLU.
And I'm in CAP.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Man.
The EAA. It's a program where these private flyers get to fly young kids into their planes.
You were a
That's
busy
great.
young lady.
Yeah.
She takes karate at the Boys Girls Club.
Wow.
Wow.
We're hoping y'all will start back up again.
Wow, that's great.
You are well-rounded.
Yeah.
And I only do it in about 60. And I only do it in about 60% of the time.
Wow.
Custody fights.
Wow, good for you. Good
That's
for you.
awesome.
Well, keep plugging along, because we need more citizens like you, and be involved as you can, and it'll pay off when you're an adult, trust me. So let's put our hands together for Mrs. October Broadway. Thank you for coming, sweetheart.
Thank you.
You can go back now unless you have something else.
It's all right.
I want to send my grandkids to her school.
There you go.
I'll be on board too.
All right, thank you, October.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, and that's all I have tonight. So we will, I don't remember where we started last time. I think we started with Vice Mayor, so we'll start here. Commissioner
Thank you,
Kirk.
sir. I would just like to say it was a pleasure meeting you, October. And you have the coolest name. I love your name. And I gave you my card. Any questions, email me, call me, text me, whatever you want to do. Whatever young people do nowadays. And I really have nothing else. Just thank everybody for coming out, and hope everybody has a good night.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Curry. Commissioner Daniel?
Were we going to talk to the young lady about the letter of support?
Oh, yes. He has that. So actually, you mind, Vice Mayor, going first
No,
for
go
you?
ahead.
You said you
I didn't
wanted
wanna
to,
miss-
to
No,
contact back.
I'm sure you got, well, I'm assuming, I shouldn't assume, but I received an email, which is pretty much the same verbiage that we heard tonight. So I didn't know if we should discuss it. It kind of seems like it's not our money. It's a county issue. It seems like there's a lot of development going up there in the loop. It seems like if we as the county can carve out a little bit for a preserve, I think it's a no-brainer. So I would suggest that we write a letter of support. I think there's a quick time frame though. So that's.
Do you know when the meeting is on it coming up for the county council?
So it wouldn't be until towards the end. So the developer gave them.
Could you come up to the microphone? Sorry. If it was just a quick date, then I would have allowed it out there.
It isn't quite that simple.
Okay.
So on January 19th was when the developer came to the county, and he gave them essentially 3 more months, roughly. So he asked for a response by towards the end of March, like March 31st or beginning of April, instead of waiting until the last day to say yes or no. But that's it. So there's not an exact day. That's why I couldn't just say, oh, so.
Right, so I think the sooner we can send the letter of support to the county, the better, because they're probably gonna have to hear it 2 times at their meetings. So
Right.
if we sent it today, it's probably too late. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
It isn't too late,
No,
otherwise
I mean-
I wouldn't be here.
no, I mean just the speed of government.
Yeah.
True.
Mr. Forte, did you have something?
I don't have the email, so if
Okay.
somebody can forward it to me, I can draft.
It's basically just recommending that the county spend the $1.38 million and buy this chunk of land up there on the loop.
If you'll shoot it to me, I can draft.
I'll send
a
it to you.
letter, and then we could approve the mayor to sign it, and we can send it off.
So that the price started out at 1.78 million, and it came to 1.38 million, and the county is in negotiations, so 1.38 million would be the highest that they would pay. It is possible that could be less. They are negotiating. So I just want to say that would be the highest price would be 1.
And excuse me, because I didn't have time to read the email today, but the specifics of it, is it paid through ECHO funds?
So they haven't decided yet, because
Okay.
there would have to be a vote from the ECHO committee.
Okay.
And as I said, we did submit 5 grants ourselves that were all viable grants. And the idea is that there would be a trail there, and there is the possibility of a trail extending all the way up to Ormond Tomb Park, so everyone's aware. I'm not suggesting that is absolutely going to happen, but this would be the first portion, should that continue, so.
Are there any other questions?
No, I could support the letter as well.
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. All right, well, then, I guess we have consensus then to move forward and take that letter, and then I'll put my signature on it. Is that okay with everyone? All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Do you want to continue with your comments?
No, just good meeting. Everyone be safe and be healthy.
All right. Commissioner Danio.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, he took it. You let him go first. You should have said.
I have no comment.
All right. Commissioner Johnson?
Only thing I have is I just want to comment on how well it went at the TPO meeting, the first one we had in a year. That was actually in-person meeting, and we had a lot of new members, so everything went a lot better, because it wasn't some of the ones that used to try to dominate what they wanted all the time. But now,
So now you get to dominate what you want.
I did pretty good on the LPGA project and Williamson and all of that. And I did talk to the county engineers after the meeting, and I got them to agree. They say that they are definitely going to widen Williamson Boulevard all the way to Green Avenue to LPG.
Mm-hmm.
That's already abandoned now.
Mm-hmm.
And also they're going to widen Hand Avenue from Williamson Boulevard to Clyde Morris.
Really?
The windy road.
Yeah.
But they said they have no
To 4 lane?
interest whatsoever in widening it across the interstate.
Hmm.
They said that's strictly an Avalon project will come about.
So they're going to do 4 lane on Hand Avenue there?
They're gonna do 4-lane Hand Avenue from Williamsville Boulevard to Clyde Morris.
I drive that all the time, and it's
4 lanes all the way to Noble Road.
yeah.
They're gonna do that, and I pushed pretty heavily on the LPGA project, but I didn't wanna push too much on our area because they always say we have to make sure that everybody in the city is on board and to get 4 lanes from Noble Road to US 1. And we talked about all these projects. He talked about a gigantic mobile home park, or a RV park, not mobile home, but, and we're talking about the extra pickleball thing and all, but we can't just keep having nothing but a 2-lane road coming I-95 into it. It's just not gonna work, you know. Eventually it's gonna be a real problem, so we have to say, everybody has to get together and say the next meeting, when we go to TPO, everybody at City of Holly Hill really wants 4 lanes. And then maybe we could get the county to agree to that as well, because it's a county road.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I've kind of mentioned a couple of times that it's a possibility that we could get a little bit of tax money off the gas when they put that Buc-ee's in there for 120-something gas bucks.
Hmm.
And it would pay for a lot of the LPGA project. But the LPGA corridor is where it's at. I mean, that's the fastest growing thing right now there is in Central Florida.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, that and off of 46 going out of Sanford,
Mm-hmm.
which is about the highest project there are right now. And they got to do They gotta do the bridge, they know that, and they're gonna have to widen it all the way out to 92. You know, eventually, I think they'll have to go across 92 and do another exit to Interstate 4, but that has got to be done, that corridor. I mean, if you've got LPGA, I can go from where I work on Hand Avenue to Sanford. It takes me almost as long on the LPGA project as it does to get the rest of the way to Sanford. You know? But when I get past out there, I go there.
It's true. That's true. It does, yeah.
So that's the thing. Let's get together as soon as we can and say that everybody in the city of Holly Hill really wants to concentrate on LPGA from Nova Road to US 1.
Yeah, maybe we could have another workshop so we could discuss that again, because I know Roy and I agree on this, but I know there's other ideas as well that, all valid.
Who would you like to, on the engineering side, attend?
Maybe we should bring Miriam this time. So she's worked on it as well.
The county has easily agreed to do Williamson. We knew we needed that.
Yeah.
To do Williamson. They was gonna do the Strickland Range Road, big deal. But now they're gonna go all the way up to Hand Avenue.
Yeah. Vice Mayor?
Is there any thought, it's not our road, it's not our money. So rather than us going to the TPO and lobbying it, why doesn't this commission lobby the county council, since they're the ones that are going to have to pay for it, and see if they're interested in it? If you get 4 of those guys saying they're interested in it, then jump on that bandwagon. But we could go to the TPO and fight for the next 5 years, get it on the long-range plan. It's up for funding 35 years from now, and the county says they're not going to pay for it.
Well, if we could, so to that point, Mr. Forte and I met with Heather Post, our representative, and she kind of asked, I understand maybe there's some hesitation. It's not all everybody in, so I don't want to fight for it if you guys don't actually want it. And so I said, well, look, I really want it, but yeah, there's a couple commissioners that are, they have valid concerns, and it's about those businesses that are along there and affecting that, and it's valid, and it's worth that conversation. So I'm all for trying to get the county to drive the boat, but we got to also supply some.
No, we got to
fuel
put some pressure there, but with all due respect to any traffic engineer or someone that's going to design this thing, they could make a 4-layer road that's 10 feet wide and put 4 lanes of traffic there. They can design anything you want. It's just, can you pay for it? Is it feasible? Anything's possible. It's just, is it feasible and affordable?
I agree that we have to have, if we don't have the county council to
If
drive.
right now they're going to
that
say,
shit,
no way in heck are we ever going to fund that, then let's not beat our head against the wall.
It's a valid point.
And we all have relationships with each of our county council people individually. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing inappropriate for us meeting with them one-on-one.
Right.
And seeing how they feel about
As long as we're a united front, because I think the project can be done. I think you're right that it's a matter of at what cost. But this will only get done if we have everyone involved. And it's going to be a major lift. But if we don't try, we definitely don't get it. If we try, there may be a way to actually engineer it, get it done. And I agree that the driver of that has to be the county, but we have to be the fuel to it. We got to be there feeding fuel.
They got to do it like they did Nova Road. It's got to be a culvert over the canal, and that's the only way it's ever going to work, unless you blow out all those businesses.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of homes there as well.
But if
From
Not
center,
on the south side.
from center to
Not on the south side.
Nova.
Talk about the south side.
Not on the south
Right.
side.
That's the only way it's gonna work.
So I agree that may be prudent. So
I've talked to DOT road engineers, that's all they do, and they say, tell me the only problem they would have is getting across the road. So
But it's the width. If you measure 4 lanes of traffic, there's not enough width there between the canal and a building. So either the building has to go away or the canal has to go away.
in a couple places.
Yeah.
So there
canals, you have to go a certain section.
there may
Right.
be like a half and half.
Right.
type-
No, I
type
agree.
thing.
It's just, like I said,
It's a
an engineer would be salivating to design this.
Right.
Yeah.
The engineers, that's all they do is DOT projects, and they say that was really not that complicated, except for dealing with the Florida East Coast Railroad.
Wow.
Everybody knows how they are deal with it.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Get it done. If everybody would say they agree on it, that's what they want, then you can get it done. But if you ask about it and they start questioning, well, does everybody know how they want it? Is everybody on board?
well, how about this?
Yeah, we can't build all these
Let's
projects.
take money out of the equation. Let's say that an engineer comes in and says they can do it, and we know the money is the hard part. But if we can get it funded through different organizations, different ways, then would we all be for that?
My only
maybe.
concern is that
Enough to move forward with
the
the discussion.
The 3-lane, as I understand, is in the pipeline somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It is.
To not remove it.
Right.
Yeah. Keep it in
My
there.
concern is if you push for the 4, you got to pull the 3 away, and we just talked about certainty tonight with spending money, and we all agreed to spend more money than we really wanted to for a certain number, and I truly believe it'd be better to have a sure 2 lanes with the turning lane, a 3-lane road, than to lose it all and continue with a 2-lane road. And we're talking 15 years from now,
Yeah.
and when all this will come around. So, yes, the need will be there, but we already talked about,
Yeah, but what good will a turning lane do going west? There's nowhere to turn except in the canal. You know what I mean? So in
Or
traffic backed up
south.
all the way from Center Street all the way to Nova Road, just solid stop, you know what I mean?
no, I agree. I just,
I don't believe there's,
Turn lane's good.
when I was serving out there, I do not believe that there was enough support to move forward with a project of that size. But I'll be happy to talk about it again in a workshop.
Yeah, and with new members too, that might be good. And if, like John said, if we can start getting the county to, yeah, and if we could get the county to drive the ship with us as well, that may help. But, and we have a new chairman. I haven't talked to him about this, and maybe we should and see where he's at. And I agree with you. I don't want to necessarily pull off a project. There may be a way to thread that needle to see if we could get that support and figure out, okay, this could be done, and then make that educated decision on, okay, let's bump this for the 4-lane. Mr. Forte, can we change the 3-lane to the 4-lane, or would they allow us to do that and hold our place, or would it be a complete new project?
I don't remember if Lois
remember either.
Bolenbach was here and she mentioned something about that. We might be able to amend our project.
I thought
and
she
keep
said
it in
amend,
place,
yeah,
if I
yeah.
remember.
I want to double check on that, but if we could make an amendment to it and get a lot of support behind it regionally, it may make a difference.
and we're flying off the seat of our pants here right now, but
Yeah.
I just had another thought. It might be appropriate for Mr. Forte to contact the county manager,
Yeah,
and when he's meeting individually with the council people, what do you, and he's going to tell them, hey, it's 6-1, no,
yeah, right.
you know, and it might be more efficient that way. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
I
appropriate.
think what the mayor was alluding to earlier is in order to get a champion on the county council behind it, they want the city's support. So in other words, Heather Post has said, I'm not going to take up this sword if there's only 2 or 3 commissioners in Holly Hill that support it. So she's looking for the majority of this commission to say they're in favor of this project. Then she'll take up the sword, and then we go and we speak with each of the individual elected officials at the county council to see if they'll support it. But, you know, without local support, the county's not even going to talk.
But when they say support, I mean, are they looking money support? Are they
Right.
looking,
Don't know. I think first philosophical support.
I think everyone up here would love to see a 4-lane road down LBGA.
Right.
But
I,
it's
for one,
realistically,
I don't want to risk a 3-lane road for the dream of a 4-lane road and be told, you're stuck with that 2-lane road because now you just lost 10 years wherever we are in this process. If we're 10 years along this process,
Right.
because a previous commission did that.
Right, right.
The 4-lane was on the thing.
Yeah.
And it got ripped.
And
they said it would never happen.
Yeah, and I hear you on that, and I differ a little bit. I don't mind being a little bit more risky with the 2 and 3 because I don't necessarily believe in the 3-lane because when you look at the traffic studies, it says that it's not really going to affect traffic in any big amount of way. So for me, I'm not salivating over that, but I think it's a big difference for the 4-lane. But what I'm hearing from you is if we have a chance to attack this thing without losing the potential of the 3-lane, because I'm not against the 3-lane, but obviously I want the 4. So if there's a way to thread that needle and to get support and to say, hey, we all agree with this. If we can figure out a way to all together fund this thing and get the county to drive this ship, then yeah, we'll be for it. If we could say that, I think Heather Post could become our champion. We could talk to other members on the council and potentially move that forward. And they have a lot more power, like you said. It's their road. So if they...
Here's an even crazier idea, because I'm coming up with all these crazy ideas. We had talked about maybe extending the CRA, LPGA's in the CRA. Pledge those funds to a project like that, possibly.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, you asked, is Heather looking for like a pledge of support? We didn't talk about that. What she really wanted, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Forte, is just that we're behind it. She thought a couple commissioners were like dead set against it. They don't want it at all. Just no, even if we could afford it.
I don't hear anybody saying that.
Right, I don't either.
Well, I'd love to have it, but I don't think it's feasible. Not with either what needs to be done to accomplish the 4-lane, or if you do the Canal Avenue, I just think it's going to be too cost prohibitive that the county will not support to fund that project because of the expense.
So do we take the position of letting them tell us no rather than us tell them no?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's ask and see if they.
Let them tell us it's cost prohibitive.
Well,
Yeah.
We'd love to see them spend the money.
then, like Commissioner Penny said, contact the county manager and
Yeah, I think that might be the
see
most efficient.
where their heads are at.
Lanes will work is if you let 2 of the lanes go west and not have a turn lane. That's the only way I can see it working. You don't have
Why don't
a
we
traffic
get
backup
October
problem going east.
to go there and represent us? She probably.
October, that's a problem that
would
needs to
something
be
for
solved.
you to do right there. I think that we would.
Next meeting about the Oregon Loop.
Okay.
That's an Eagle Scout project right there.
There you
And then we could rename LPGA to October Broadway.
Right.
Oh my gosh, what a name.
That'd be great.
That would be awesome.
How many members of county council need 4, right?
Yep, 4 out of 7.
I firmly believe that Billy Wheeler and
Yes.
Jim Johnson would go along with it.
Yep, yeah.
And then you got Heather, you got 3.
Heather, yeah. And I don't know where the chairman will be.
So let's see where.
And Danny Robbins, I think I could get him to be for it as well.
It's all about the money.
So let's, Mr. Forte, could you contact Mr. Rechtenwald and discuss the conversation and see if we could do that?
I think I did that once before. I'm going to check.
I think his response was he wanted to make sure we're into it. He didn't want to push something.
I think he was getting a new council or something.
That's true too.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I've even heard that from Lois. Lois says, if you get everybody at Holly Hill on board and say they want to do it, then we can do something with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't.
If we could get it done, it'd be monumental, and I think that it would really help out our businesses along US 1 immensely. It will drive people into the middle of our city, so.
It's an exit off I-95. Remember that. It's got to come.
All right, well, we talked this one to death.
We don't need a workshop now. We just saved an hour.
Yeah, we just did. That's true. Mr. Johnson, do you have anything further? All right. Anything further from the commission? All right, with that, we are adjourned.